I have to say attendance is a little low today, and I'm not surprised because I kind of called y'all out in the email this morning, didn't I? I was like, so when was the last time you were at the doctor? So when was the last time you updated your will? So when was the last time you took a look at your financial documents? And I bring this up because that's really what I've been spending an enormous amount of my own time doing lately. As some of you know, my mother has come to stay to live with me, and she's been living out of the country for the last 30 years. So we had to get her all set up on all the insurance and bank accounts and Medicaid and find a doctor and deal with all kinds, get their will, power of attorney, durable health directive, all that stuff. Luckily, my sister is a genius with administration and bureaucracy. She's been able to do a lot of the heavy lifting, but still, it's been a lot for all of us. It's been a lot of like, okay, where's this document? Okay, where's this number? Okay, where's this happening? And then today, I also had to prep biannual meeting with my financial advisor, who's wonderful. I adore her. But, she sends me this list of questions saying like, so, what are all your statement accounts? What do you owe on the house? What do you owe on the car? Where are your credit cards at? And on the one hand, I'm always very proud of myself because I actually am pretty organized that way. So I have access to all the things. But even so, first of all, just logging into a website these days is like, oh, we got to log in. Oh, now they've got to send you a double authentication email. And now we want you to click on the double authentication and enter the thing and enter the other passcode that we've just texted you. And I'm like, could I just log into the account? And I have to say, it's not been great. It's not been a fantastic year. It's been a fantastic year in many ways, but financially, it's been a little rocky. And it's not super fun looking at all those numbers square in the face in black and white, going like, wow, okay. I've got some work to do. I've got some ground to make up. It's easy when I'm not looking at the numbers to be like, no, it's okay. I know it's not great, but I'm pretty sure it's okay. But then I look at the numbers and I'm like, oh, wow, we got to make some changes. And then this afternoon, I'm going for my annual checkup with my new doctor here in Connecticut, who, by the way, is very handsome. So that makes it easier, but still, they're going to want to take my blood. They're going to want to talk to me about my health habits. They're going to, all this. And I was just thinking about like, wow, this is hard. And without a ton of reward, it's not like, you feel so great about yourself after you prepare a list of your finances. It's not like you feel so great about yourself after you leave the doctor, but you got to do it. Avoidance is not adult behavior. We want to be grown-ups. We want to be the mature, emotionally mature, financially mature, physically mature people in our lives. Deborah says, I love your honesty. Thank you, Deborah. Happy to oblige. I'm congenitally incapable of not telling the truth. Which leads to situations like when I go to the doctor and they ask you how much you drink. And I'm like, okay, see, now this is where I have a problem because I know that doctors and police officers automatically double whatever it is you say in your head because they know that people lie to them all day long. I know that whatever number I tell you about how many glasses of wine I have a week, you're going to double the number in your head. But I'm incapable of lying. So I have to tell you the real number. But if you double the real number in your head, you're going to want to ship me off to rehab like today. So I'm like, so know that I'm telling you the real number. It's a big number. I drink a lot. I'm not proud of it, but I do. I mean, not to the degree that's like interfered with my life, I hope. Oh, maybe I have to look at that. Shoot. The hard thing about confronting hard truths is then you got to do it yourself. But anyway, I can't not tell the truth. I don't know why. It would be much better in my life, I think, if I could even fudge a little bit. So my question is, what are you putting off? What are you not looking at? What are you deliberately avoiding? Where's that pile of clutter that you're like, oh God, have you revised your resume lately? Have you brought your LinkedIn profile up to date? Are you putting off doing promotion for your marketing, for your business or your work or your projects? Veronica says, yeah, paying $200 to get stabbed and have a fever for 2 days was not fun, but necessary. Proud of myself. Yes, Veronica went and got her vaccine again. Well done, Veronica. Well done. Because of course, we're getting on a plane to go to Greece. So she wants to be extra careful. Good for you. Julie says, hi, I like to use the mantra, I take care of myself. That's a great way to feel good about doing some of these less attractive tasks. It's like, well, but I'm taking care of myself, right? Or in the immortal words of my best friend Margaret's mom, who was known to all as Fluff, Fluff used to say, be true to your teeth and they'll never be false to you. I think about it almost every time I brush my teeth. He says, only real teachers tell the truth. Thank you, real teacher, you're gold. Oh, bless you, Lee. Thank you for saying that. So none of you have answered the question, what are you putting off? What are you being like, la, 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 I don't see you. Doing my will, yes. As you guys know, my father died last summer. He didn't have very much at all in the way of an estate. He had almost nothing, actually, but he took care of his business. Like his paperwork was pristine. Everything was so easy for me and my sister. It was like all we had to deal with was the grief of losing him and not this mountain of paperwork. For a man who was so about managing his actual life, he managed his death beautifully. So yeah, do your will. And, some of this corresponds with our desire for immortality, right? If I don't have a will and I don't have to look at my health directive, maybe I can pretend that I'll live forever. And that's a totally understandable fantasy. And we know it's not true. But what else? Even writing your book or reaching out to an old friend, like what is something that for whatever reason you are resisting it, resenting it, avoiding it, walking around it, not making eye contact with it? Like, what is it? Because I guarantee you there's more in there. There's more there for you than just what the actual thing, right? Lori says, will is okay, but need to put in place the medical power of attorney and health directive. Right. Making doctor's appointments today. Good for you, Deborah. These things, whether they're little tiny, sometimes they're little tiny things, and sometimes they're really quite large things. And one way to change your relationship with it is to think about, what is it costing you? What is it costing you to not know the actual state of your health? What is it costing you to not have an updated resume? I know so many people who are like, oh, I got a job because it was the safe thing. And then, surprise, they get laid off and they don't have an updated resume. They haven't kept their skills up. They haven't kept their relationships up. And they're like, oh no, oh no, oh no. Whereas it's one of the advantages of being an entrepreneur is that you're always keeping stuff updated. You're always hustling, right? So things don't work out, great, on to the next thing. So it could potentially be costing you thousands of dollars, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars. We all know people who refused to go to the doctor and refused to go to the doctor and refused to go to the doctor. And when they finally went to the doctor, it was too late. Or the medical intervention required was so extreme that it was much, much harder than if it had been caught early. Right? Suzanne says, on vacation this week. Good for you, girl. Reviewed and found corrections to our trusts. Need to wait till Monday to send the corrections to our attorneys so that we can sign off on Thursday. Brilliant. I love to hear that. Leah says, totally have a clutter mountain that I need to do something with. Have been successfully avoiding it for a long time, but it's moving up the list as I get other things done. Yep. Gaynell says, I have a pile of September receipts that I need to enter into my expense record. It's so easy when I keep up with them. Well, exactly, right? That's the other thing. You brush your teeth every day. It's not that hard to have healthy teeth. You don't and go to the dentist once a year and all of a sudden it's a big expensive project, right? Jennifer, hi Jen, says, I've been putting off contacting company to set up to do our taxes. It'll make life easier. Why do I avoid it? Exactly. So good for you all for being so good and brave and taking a good long look at those things that you're not taking a good long look at. And I want to invite you to spend 15 minutes today on that project, or 5 minutes, or 2 minutes, or 1 minute. And the way I invite you into it is the rest of the title of the email, of course, I put, is it time to face the music? But what's the rest of that? Time to face the music and dance. Time to face the music and dance. So can you dance with the taxes? Can you dance with the doctor's appointment? Can you dance with your insecurities around reaching out to people? Can you dance with your fear of visibility around marketing? Can you dance with your body image? Can you dance with your health directives? And if you did dance with it, what kind of dance would it be? Could you do a shimmy, right? Could you have a passionate tango? What kind of dance might you want it to be? And what might be the result of that? Can you put on your favorite song and just do paperwork for as long as that song plays? I remember one time about 1,000,000 years ago, a woman who was in the Get It Done workshop, the original Get It Done workshop, her daughter was born with some fairly severe genetic conditions, and she had just had the latest in a number of very serious operations. And while the operation was a success and things were looking pretty good, she was left with this mountain of insurance paperwork to do. And this is probably 15 years ago. So, a lot of what we had available to us now in terms of filling out forms online or, My Chart or all that stuff didn't exist then. So it was really arduous. But she found herself a corner by the patio doors where the sun came in, and she made sure she was all snuggy warm in her favorite sweater. And she would put on old Beatles albums, and she would just move through the paperwork for as long as the album played. And then she would get up and make a cup of tea, flip the album, come do it again. All right, this is the advantage of actually using physical albums, is there's a time bit in there, so make sure that you get up. And sure enough, she was able to move through it by just making her environment a little cozier and really staying connected to how grateful she was. What all this paperwork meant was that her daughter was alive. Julie says, I avoid taxes and now my CPA is retiring. He's turning everything over to someone else. But yeah, Julie also listens to music on albums. She says, I'm loving that about my record player. It's roughly 22 minutes aside, but the principle's the same. Yeah, exactly. And of course, we've got the daily practicum. We meet 5 days a week for 15 minutes at a time to help support you in getting these things done. We would love to have you be part of that. If you were interested, you can go to therealsambennett.com/practicum. It's $47 a month. And some people are there every day. Some people are there a couple times a week. Some people never show up, but having it on their calendar reminds them to do their 15 minutes at another date, another point in time. That's ongoing. You're always invited to join us there. But if today is really talking to you, if you're feeling that kind of tug, if you're feeling that like, oh shit, why not sign up for the month and get some support and do it just in 15 minutes a day and have us cheering you on and keep that promise to yourself. Because that's really what this is about. It's about keeping promises to yourself and fulfilling the promise of your life, right? It's hard to fulfill the promise of your life when you're battling an illness that might have been treatable earlier, right? It's hard to fulfill the promise of your life when you are so beaten down by guilt or financial ruin or failed friendships, right? It's hard to come up through the cracks of the sidewalk on that. Not impossible, but hard. So how can you make your life easier for you? How can you do a favor for future you? Who's got a 15-minute step they want to take today? Who's willing to commit publicly to something? If you don't want to, that's fine. Just write it down for yourself. Because otherwise, you'll have it in your head of like, oh yeah, I really want to do that today. I really want to update my resume today. I really want to make that phone call today. And then something happens, and then you check email, and then something else happens, and then it's 6 o'clock, and then you're tired, and then it's tomorrow, and you haven't done it, and then you feel slightly shitty because you said you were going to do it today, but you didn't, and now it's tomorrow. So you swear you're going to do it today, and then it's Friday, right? We all know how this goes. It's not you. It's not low self-esteem. It's not a problem you have. This is everybody. We respond to urgency. It's part of how we're wired. So sometimes we have to put on some false urgency. Right? We need to amp up the stakes, even if they're not real, right? And one of the ways to do that is to make a promise to other people. That's why the practicum works, is because we have a little group and you're like, oh, I have paid this money, I've made this commitment, and now I'm in this community. That adds to the internal pressure to get things done. It's positive peer pressure. We sometimes talk about stress and tension as though they're only bad things, but that's not true. Stress and tension is how a building stays up. John says, I'm spending 15 minutes of focus time to clean up the clutter in my office. Did it twice 2 days ago, once yesterday, and can't wait to do it again today. Oh, that's great, John. We really miss having you in practicum. You can come back anytime because we loved having you in practicum. John was the one who left the testimonial. It's like, this is fucking amazing. I'm like, that's the one I'm using because it is. Leah says, finish the difficult email. Yeah. And Leah, I'm not sure what's difficult about it for you. I do find that when I have difficult emails, sometimes if I read it aloud to myself, that helps me adjust for tone. And just remember that in digital communication, in texts and emails, unless people know you really well, they're not going to hear your voice. So things will always sound a little harsher probably than you mean them to sound. Read it through for content, but also read it through for tone, and just make sure that you're not giving them any information that they don't need to know, because that's easy to do when it's a difficult situation. And just, fill it with as much loving kindness as you can, not knowing anything about the situation. That's my very generic advice. Kaynell says 10 more scripture haikus left to write. This project was latent for 50 years. I'm so glad you lived to do it, Kaynell. I'm so glad we're all here to get those scripture-based haikus from you. I think that's amazing. And, it's not the putting off of things, particularly creative projects. It's not something to feel bad about. I mean, sometimes things need to be in the rock tumbler for 50 years. Sometimes things just have to bubble, for a long, long time before they're ready and before you're ready and before the world is ready. So it's not all just you, right? Don't take it all onto your shoulders, but I'm really glad you're getting to the end of that project because I think it's really cool. I want to hear what kind of dance you want to do. What kind of dance do you want to do with the things you're avoiding? Veronica says, my friend is on a little quest to teach me the Lindy Hop because I have a lot of anxiety about dancing. He has insisted and shown me that it's not as hard as I think it is. So I want to Lindy with what I'm putting off. Excellent. Beth says, I'll be dancing to You Better Bet, You Better Who, because it has the energy I need. You better, you better, you bet. Kaynell says, so that's my brain, a rock tumbler. I never knew, but that's such a great image. Yeah, it's a rock tumbler. Sometimes things need to stay in there for a really long time. Clark, hi, Clark. Clark says, I'm putting all my projects in file folders so I can see them and they're tangible. All digitized in the computer, they seem lost and no progress. Good for you. This is the important thing about organization. I don't care what works for everybody else. I only care about what works for you. I keep my projects in these file folders like I'm in 3rd grade, but you know what? It works for me. So I don't care. My sister sometimes comes in and she's like, really? Is that how you are? I'm like, yeah. Step off it. They're not your files, right? John says, dance. How about a song? Every morning I play Greatest Love of All, Man in the Mirror, Don't Worry, Be Happy, Never Get Tired of These Beautiful Songs. Oh, that's great, John. I love that. I love that. Lori says, cleaning my kitchen while listening to you because then I can get it done. Yes. Y'all are making me very happy right now. I love to feel like I'm a part of your creative productive process because that's what I'm here for. And then make sure you give yourself a present, right? Give yourself a reward. And even if that's just 5 minutes of standing on the back porch and watching the birds, or getting to read a chapter of the new book you're reading, buying a new pen, or taking yourself out for a cup of coffee, whatever it is, and tell yourself, I'm buying this pen because I was so good about cleaning up my office today, right? We all have inner 9-year-olds that want rewards, right? We all want an ice cream with sprinkles. You can't expect yourself to do hard things and not reward yourself. You wouldn't expect anybody else to do it. So why would you expect yourself, right? And I think it's an important moment in self-respect and enjoyment of life. I did this thing and now I get to do this thing. I did something hard. I get to reward myself. I did something meaningful. I get to feel great about it. Yay, you. Julie says, my granddaughter's playlist on Pandora is so much fun. Good for walking to, and I end up dancing. I know the neighbors must wonder about me. Oh, I bet they probably have a pretty good idea about you, Julie. I'm just guessing. Veronica says, I got a pumpkin cream cold brew after I got my shots yesterday. I earned it. Exactly. Starbucks is great for little treats like that. I have color file folders. One of my favorite toys is a label maker for labeling the files. Awesome. Love those. Later today, I'm going to Staples, my happy place. And I'm bringing my mother because she would be very upset with me if I went to Staples without her, because it's both of our happy places. And I was talking about it with Amy and she's like, ugh, really? And I'm like, yeah, we like it. Don't worry. I got it. I got to get all the supplies for a trip to Crete. Not all of them, but a few leftover ones. Good. Anything anybody else wants to say or share before we log off here? Thank you for being willing to take a look at some of this harder stuff and pull those monsters out from under the bed and go, what is really hanging me up here? What am I avoiding? What am I denying? What am I running away from? How can I make it worth my own while to do this? What prize can I give myself? Can I do it in 15-minute chunks or 5-minute chunks or 1-minute chunks? Can I play some music to buoy my spirits as I do this hard thing? Because you can do hard things, right? June says, so read some of Sam's poem to clear and center your heart and mind. Oh, that's nice. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. I have a vested interest in your health and your well-being, your financial well-being, your creative well-being. It's important to me that you all stay at the top of your game because you have so much to offer the world. You have so much to give. We're not done yet. Lean into that potential, lean into that beautiful future that you are creating, both for yourself and for after you're gone. You can still be creating a beautiful world once you're not even here anymore. Isn't that a nice thought? Thank you for making the world a better place. Let's go ahead and breathe. You ready? Let's inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for doing this with me. See you soon. Bye.